to Filter. I'm Diane Mizota, counting down the most controversial games ever. So far, we've managed to assemble a list that would make any juvenile delinquent proud to be a gamer. Here's a recap of who is totally offensive, in case you weren't listening, you little bastards. BMX XXX offends its way to number 10 after a quick stop at a local strip club. Carmageddon plows its way into 9. Number 8 insults everyone with Doom. Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball bumps, sets, and grinds its way to number 7. Number 6 is that son of a conquers Bad Fur Day. Lock and Load with the Neighborhood Mailman, the Postal series, is number 5. And at number 4 is a trio of aliens looking for some sweet lovin' in Panty Raider From Here to Immaturity. While all the games on our list so far have managed to upset their fair share of protective parents and politicians, they're just second-rate compared to what's up next. When Rockstar first announced Manhunt, it was shrouded in secrecy. All that was shown were some grainy-ass videos and bullshit screenshots, kind of like Paris Hilton video. When the game was finally released, gamers were treated with one of the darkest and grittiest games ever made. Manhunt kills at number 3.
Manhunt, that's pretty much everything. Violence, profanity, creative, killing. Yeah, I would say violence is the biggest thing on that, the gore factor.
Manhunt was, the violence I think was what shocked everyone. There was that whole kind of running man, people watching over you while you're forced to fight thing. So that was just the different nasty ways of killing people.
I didn't think Manhunt was that controversial, that they were really basing the controversy aspect to sell games when they didn't really need to. The gameplay was really solid, really good.
Bottom line is the violence, and basically come up with the most creative and graphic ways to use certain objects to eviscerate people.
Manhunt is a game in which you can kill someone with a plastic bag by putting it over their head and they're suffocating them, and apparently that's pretty controversial. I hear in the sequel you're going to be able to use a spork.
Before we get to the 2 most offensive games on the planet, let's take a look at some of the titles that tried to be naughty but just weren't bad enough. Here's who got filtered out.
I'm really disappointed that Custer's Revenge didn't make the list. That was that old Atari 2600 game in which you could have your way with a Native American woman. Very horrible for the time.
Leisure Suit Larry was controversial back in the day. It was the first game with a sexual theme, because you were just some loser from the Marina Del Rey with a leisure suit going around trying to get hold of women in some lame car. It was just ooh wow, adult theme.
Final Fantasy VII. Honestly, you look at the game and it's simple RPG, but if you just look into the background story, there was so many controversial things today. There was cloning in the game, there was death in the game. I mean, you kind of gotta look into it a little bit more open-minded, but it's out there.
We've gone from Postal to Peeping Toms, and just when you thought we couldn't sink any lower, we do. Mortal Kombat introduced the Fatality, a finishing move that ranged from ripping out your opponent's spine to tearing off his head. Sounds like a good time, but that was the past. Today, the Grand Theft Auto series has managed to offend politicians, minorities, and even evil stepmoms. So who comes out on top? Is it the bloody beat-em-up action series, or are you into modern-day urban violence? It's time for me to shut the f*** up and show you this.
Grand Theft Auto is controversial for many, many reasons. The one that everyone is obsessed with is picking up a prostitute, having sex with her in your car, having her get out and then running her over and taking the money back. I mean, if you ask me, it just sounds like you're a thrifty guy in that game.
You know, Grand Theft Auto has become synonymous with controversy. I guess because of the level of violence. I guess because of the fact, there are these hookers you can hire, in the game and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it was a really, really great game. Not because it was so controversial. I think that's something that people really have to remember.
GTA has just got so much attention in the press. Mortal Kombat, I mean, it was controversial. It kind of kicked things off in terms of government scrutiny a few years back. But GTA, it's a great game.
Most controversial game in the filter face-off is going to definitely be Grand Theft Auto.
Mortal Kombat was controversial because it was the game that introduced fatalities to the fighting genre. You could pull out someone's spine.
It was all done in fun, but for some people it was seen as much too violent and much too controversial. I think for its day, actually, Mortal Kombat was probably a more controversial game than Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto got a lot of attention, mostly because it was such a great game and everyone was talking about it. And Mortal Kombat was a great game too, but I mean, that inspired congressional hearings. Joseph Lieberman was giving speeches about how violent it was and stuff like that. And that was by far the more controversial game. I think it was just in a time when a lot of people didn't know a lot about video games. So in the mainstream media, they really picked up on that and they really just sort of started talking about it. And, you know, it was a controversial game and in some ways much more controversial than Grand Theft Auto back in the day.
The polls are closed, the votes are counted, and the most controversial game of all time is the Grand Theft Auto series. That's right. Grand Theft Auto humiliates the competition and is officially the most controversial game ever made. That wraps up this episode of Filter. Remember, the opinions expressed on this show are yours, not mine. So make your vote count on future episodes by logging on to the Filter show page at g4tv.com/filter. Until then, I'm Diane Mizzota, and I'll see you next time.